everyone, and welcome to the 2018 Lucas Oil Challenge Cup press conference. Today's championship round, our winner, Kevin VanDam. Kevin, congratulations again. I'm hoping you could just kind of start out by telling us basically what happened out there, because it was a pretty interesting day on the water.
Yeah, all week, it's kind of been, a learning experience for me to figure out how the fish are set up on the cover. But my pattern and my technique have really been the same through all the rounds. My primary bait was a Strike King KVD 1.5 square bill crankbait. I throw it on my signature Quantum cranking series rod, a 7-foot medium action, and it's just real accurate because I can throw around those overhanging limbs and stuff around those cypress trees real well with it, make a good presentation. So it's very efficient for me. I ran it all week. I started my day out today doing the same thing. That's what I've got confidence in, here. And I got a couple of bites early, and I just knew if I was going to have a chance to run that whole lake and figure out where the fish are going to be at and to have a shot at this thing, that's the pattern that I needed to kind of stick with. So, I experimented with a few other baits for a little bit, but for the most part, I stuck with that crankbait, and that's what I caught every single fish on today.
Kevin, you went out third in sudden death. You finished third in your elimination round. What changes did you make that put you in first today?
Well, the biggest thing was the first 2 days, or the first 2 rounds that I fished, I'm trying to figure out how the fish are relating to the cover, if they're deeper, if they're shallower, is it boat docks, what type of banks they're going to be on, all those types of things. And I kind of figured that out in the first 2 rounds, and really was lucky to figure it out late enough in the sudden death round just to go out just in front of Jason Christie because he was coming too, and just to have a chance today. But I really learned in the sudden death round what I needed to do, and it carried me through today.
Kevin, first of all, congratulations on today. And what changes did you make to your tackle today compared to yesterday? And tell us about that.
Well, you never know because anything's possible here at Major League Fishing where you're going to go. They can take you anywhere, and I just knew that if we ended up in another oxbow lake that had a lot of cypress trees and stuff, I want to be prepared for that. So the biggest thing that I did is make sure that I had plenty of crankbaits of the KVD Strike King square bills, and I had all the different sizes ready. But this week that 1.5 was the bait for me of choice, and I had a lot of different colors. I changed the hooks out on them to my own signature trebles on there, and I knew if I was faced with that situation, I'd have extra backup rods and everything ready to go, several different sizes of line. And when I showed up there today and saw that lake with all those cypress trees and the color of that water, it was really pretty dirty water. I knew that I'd have the right combination.
You held the lead all day, slowly moving more and more ahead of the competitors. What's your mindset on a day where that's how the competition is going?
Well, that's what we try to do on any competition is you want to get the lead and stay there. But the biggest thing is if you can control the score tracker, be on offense where it takes guys out of their comfort zone. They're having to make decisions to try different things. That's a great thing to do. The hardest thing in Major League Fishing, once you get a lead, is to continue that momentum. And fortunately today, it was a little slower in the second period, but I still kept a good lead. And in the last period, things really started clicking. I think that storm front was coming in, and I really got going, and it seemed like Edwin and I were both on fire at that time, and we both were dialed in. I don't know what he was doing, but I bet he was fishing a very similar pattern and probably a similar bait to what I was doing, because he was the only other person that was really making the score tracker move in that last period.
Congratulations, Kevin. You exist truly as a pinnacle of our sport as far as athletes go. What does it mean for Major League Fishing win addition to your resume?
Well, you want to win them all. The biggest thing this week is I want to make sure to have a good performance to make the World Championships. I fished there last year down in Nacogdoches, Texas, and I made it to the championship round, and I couldn't get it done. That's the biggest thing. Major League Fishing, any cup win is a huge deal, obviously. We want to win every one. But that was my thought process going in this week, is to have good performances so that I could lock myself into the cup, to the World Championships, and go from there. And lo and behold, just everything kind of worked out. I didn't start the strongest. I had a solid first round, and I barely made it through sudden death. But by today, for the championship round, I was dialed in, and I really had a focus. I knew in my mind what I needed to do, and it's great to be able to go out and execute a plan. And today I was able to do that.
Kevin, you used the words figure out and learn repeatedly at the start of this interview. So bottom line is, when we came here, none of you 27 had been here at all. I mean, not a single one of you. So the competition was about as pure as you could get.
Yeah, no question. This is an area that nobody's ever fished. It doesn't have huge bodies of water, so it's kind of off the major tournament scene radar. And the competitions were really tight, from what I understand, all week. I know the rounds I was in, the sudden death round for me was the most excruciating sudden death round I've ever fished in Major League Fishing. So, the lakes are similar, and they're shallow water fisheries, and I've fished this type of water before, but it's still a learning experience to know how these fish react, because it's not the same as any place else. So it took, it really took me till today to dial that in. It took me the two previous rounds to kind of figure it out. So like I said, it's really gratifying when you have a plan like that and you can execute it, because more times than not, in competitive professional tour level angling, you're going to lose a lot more than you're ever going to win. And I put my best game together this week, and had my best day on the final day when it really counted. And that's what you want to do, is you want to be at your best when it really matters.
Kevin, I have two questions. How did this lake compare to the others you fished, and what did you look for in your ride through?
So this lake was a lot shallower than a couple of the previous lakes. It had very stained water in it too, or pretty stained water, and because the banks were shallower, where the wind was blowing on them, it kind of muddied it up a little bit. But the good thing about it is the cypress trees didn't have too much water on them. You want, for that crankbait pattern, you want to have a couple of feet of water, but you don't want to have 5 or 6 feet. You want that fish to be right in the zone where you can reel that bait by there. I mean, with so many cypress trees, to me, it's the most efficient way to trigger bass that are kind of neutral or negative. You could go through and fish slow, flip in or pitch in a bait in there, but you're just not going to cover enough water. It's not like, there's a fish on every tree. You have to fish, hundreds of trees at all different angles, and then you finally get a bite. So, it just kind of worked out that I saw enough in the first 2 rounds to really clue me in that when I saw this and saw the type of depth that it had, I clued in on the right water, the right stretch of bank pretty early on, and it helped me get out to a lead, and I was able to sustain it for the rest of the day.
Kevin, with the conditions today, a little bit more wind, rain moving in, did it in any way change where the fish were positioning or the bait you were throwing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So first thing this morning, there's always a good early bite, and I got onto a good stretch of cypress trees early, and you could tell they were active. They were really, really hammering the bait, and it really slowed down. The second period was much slower, and I only got a handful of bites. And then as that front came in, it was like a light switch, man. I mean, it really started happening. I was catching a bunch of short fish. You could just tell that it was turning the fish on. I mean, they were just smashing that crankbait when they hit it, and that's what you want, And I mean, you saw the score tracker really light up. And again, I don't know what the other guys were doing, but Edwin, I would guess, was probably fishing the same pattern as me. He's a really good shallow water fisherman. He loves to throw crankbaits too, and I bet you that's what he was doing too, because those fish really were clued into it. Once I got that thing figured out this morning, it really made all the difference in the world.
You had 25 total fish with an average weight of 1 pound, 10 ounces. Did you see today as a numbers game, or did it just end up that way?
You never know when you show up to a lake what the quality of the fish are going to be or whatever it is. And after that first period, you could kind of tell there was a handful of 3+ pounders caught, but most of the fish were in that 1 to 2 pound range that were caught. So, and you know, the water that I was fishing, I feel like you could get a big bite on any cast, and that Strike King KVD Squarebill will definitely catch big ones. I've caught some giant stringers on it. So, you know, I knew I had a bait that I could catch big fish on if I got around them, but I definitely, you know, I'm not scared to catch those 1 and 2 pounders too. I mean, it's a perfect bait for this scenario like this when you're really having to grind it out and trying to catch any fish that will be scoreable.
This is your 3rd Major League Cup victory. What does that mean to you to end the season that way? And Kevin, do you have enough room in your house for another one?
I can always find room. I can tell you, I know how Edwin is too. You know, I mean, both of us had 2 cup wins going into today. I mean, he is definitely driven, motivated, one of the best anglers on tour. I mean, he's one of the hardest working guys there is out there, and I know how bad he wanted it too. I could see it in his eyes. I mean, we look at each other. I mean, we're Nitro teammates, so you know, I wanted it, and it was pretty cool how throughout the day it was really it really turned into a race between the 2 of us. And man, I'm just glad it worked out the way it did for me. But you know, I know how he feels so too. I've been on both sides of it, and you know, we're all fierce competitors, but we're also, you know, good friends. So you know, I guarantee you that he'll be gunning for his 3rd, and the World Championships will be the next chance. So we'll both be ready.
Kevin, you obviously mentioned it just now, the World Championship, and mentioned before that last year you made that championship round but weren't able to seal it. You were already in the World Championship for next year before you even fished. I mean, you could have just not showed up this week. So what does it mean to you to not only have this victory, but to come off this victory into our next MLF competition, being the victor of the last event?
Well, over my career, momentum's always, you know, been a factor, and I've watched it especially with other anglers. You see them get on a roll, and you know, hopefully I can carry that momentum into next season for sure. You know, I really didn't look at the points. I knew I was up there pretty good, so I didn't really look on purpose because I wanted to have a good showing this week. You know, to be honest, Alpena, which was our last event, it's my home state. You know, the first time we were there, I dominated the event. I won every round and won the championship round, and you know, I got knocked out in sudden death there, and it hurt. You know, that's my house, and I really wanted to come back and have a strong showing here. So I can't tell you how relieved I was to make the championship round after the way my week has been. You know, I've just been kind of, you know, fumbling along and making it along to it, but going to the World Championship, I've got a ton of confidence. You know, I don't know where we're going. I don't know what we're going to be doing, but it was pretty darn special last year, and I can't wait till the next one.
One last question. Your 2 other cup wins have come in the north, La Crosse, Wisconsin, and in Alpena the first time we went there. This is your first one down here in the south with MLF at least. So what kind of confidence does that give you going into the World Championship, knowing that fishing in February, we're probably going to be more in these sorts of conditions?
South, yeah.
We're not going to be in Michigan.
No, I mean, I have a lot of confidence everywhere I go, to be honest with you. And some places I've had more success than others, but you know, I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen a lot of areas. Even though I've never been here to Natchez, Mississippi, I fished similar water, so at least I had a clue. And then I just had to kind of figure out the little details. And that's what it's going to be there too. Is, you know, any place we go, I know the time of the year. Once I see the lakes, I know, you know, I'm going to have a general idea of the seasonal pattern and the things that I have to do. I just have to perform at that point. I got to find something that fits my strengths. And you know, if you see anybody that does really well in Major League Fishing, usually they're fishing one of the techniques or patterns that is one of their strong suits. And hopefully we're someplace where I can make that fit my mold.
Well, we wish you the best of luck in the upcoming World Championship, where you will no doubt shine. And congratulations again on your 2018 Lucas Oil Challenge Cup win.
Thank you.